Good evening. Thanks for being here. I know a lot of you saw Matt Johnson last night. Tonight's going to be a little different. Tonight, Matt's going to talk to us about his journey to get to this stage tonight and to get to the things he wanted in his career. It's a story of resilience and dreams and how we get there. I'm going to tell you a funny story first about how I met Matt. So I was on a cruise about 6 or 7 years ago, and we got on the cruise, and we had missed the window to book everything on the cruise. So we went and put our name on a wait list, and we're waiting outside the box office, looking at my daughter when she was much younger. We're looking at some posters, and there's a poster of Matt up there, and he walks up to us and says, "You should come to the show tonight. It's going to be great." And I said, "We're trying to." We put our name on the wait list. We're going to try and get there. And then we got off the wait list. So we're in the front row, and I get pulled up on stage, and Matt says, "Have we ever met before?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, like an hour ago outside." And you can see him drop his head. But then we got to know Matt over the course of the cruise. That was the first night of the cruise. We got to know Matt over the course of the cruise. We saw him at the late night buffet every night, and I would bother him with all sorts of questions. But then I followed him on social media, got to see him, as a lot of you have, on Britain's Got Talent, America's Got Talent, Penn and Teller, a lot of other shows. You saw all of that last night in that interview. But one of the things that stuck with me from those interactions, and then also from watching him interact with people on social media, is Matt is very kind and very open to those discussions of how he got to where he is. And that's part of the reason why when we launched this presidential speaker series, I thought Matt was the perfect closing act for it. Because the combination of what you saw last night, I think what you're going to see tonight, is a really good embodiment of what we want our students and our faculty and our staff and our communities to hear. So I'm really excited to hear what Matt has to say. Again, those of you who haven't been here before, the format will be Matt will talk for about 30 minutes or so, then I will come up and we'll do a fireside chat where I'll ask questions, and then we'll kick it to the audience to ask questions you might have. And then there's a free reception outside with food and drink. So we hope lots of you join us. Without further ado, Matt Johnson.
Thank you, Mike. By the way, he just covered everything in the PowerPoint, so show's over. Everybody go drink. Dumb business. I'd forgotten about that, actually, because when I got the call to come do this, I've been on celebrity cruises for like 3 years now, and when I got the call to do this, I just presumed, I didn't remember, Mike, because it's 7 years ago. I mean, I do now, but I presumed that it was from Celebrity Cruises. So I was like, oh, yeah, okay, I'll come now. And at Christmas, I was invited to a gig in Arkansas, in Little Rock, and so I just presumed it was there. And then I didn't know until I came. This discussion never came up until yesterday, when Mike was like, "Yeah, we saw you 7 years ago on Norwegian Cruise." I was like, 7 years ago? So when Mike saw me and his wife and his daughter was much smaller, but when they saw me, none of the stuff that you saw in my opening video last night had happened. I hadn't been on Britain's Got Talent, America's Got Talent. None of it had happened. I'd only started cruising about 6 months before they met me. And as a matter of fact, I couldn't get a cruise ship agent. I tried for 2 years. And this goes back to my power of persistence and what it says on my hand, never give up. I couldn't get a cruise ship agent for my life because I didn't have any promo, and I was doing kids' parties, and they were like, "Yeah, we don't think you can do the gig." And I was like, "I can do the gig." And so it took me 2 years to get a cruise ship agent. And actually, this is not in my talk, but I'm going to say it because I just thought of it. When I finally got a cruise ship agent, how it happened was I contacted this agency, this big agency in Florida, and they said, "Yeah, you're not really what we're looking for." This was after 2 years. And they said, "But if you call TAD Management, TAD, maybe they'll take you." I was like, "Okay." So I called TAD Management. I spoke to Jan, the president of the cruise division, and she said, "How'd you get our number?" And I said, "Oh, Don Casino sent me your number." And she goes, "Well, they don't like us." And then without missing a beat, I said, "Well, I guess they're sending you all the crappy magicians then, aren't they?" And she laughed, and her husband's British, and I didn't have any promo, and we got this little thing going, and she said, "I'll tell you what, I'll try you on a ship." And that was 6 months before I met you. And I did one ship, and I've cruised ever since. And so then what happened was I had to take time off to do all these TV shows. But there's a rule on ships with agents. If you get a TV show or you get on Broadway, they'll give you time off because they understand. And also, it adds to your credibility on the ship. So more people come, they want people to book to see the show and all that stuff. And the show on the ship now, when they saw it's pretty much what I did last night, but the show on the ship is bigger. It's got big stunts and I float people and, you know, because it lives on there. We don't have to travel around with that stuff. So that was about 6 months before I met you. How crazy is that? So my life changed. Anyway, Power of Persistence. I came up with this title, and I'm going to be honest, I'm a performer. I've lectured all over the world for magicians. I create magic, so I teach magic to magicians all over the world. I've lectured at magic clubs throughout the world, but I've never done university lectures. I never went to university. I'm not advocating for not going to university, just so you know. It worked out for me. But I didn't go to university. It's the first university I've ever been on campus. I'm not a motivational speaker, but I have lectured at magic clubs. And as I've got older and I've got this story to share, which you're going to see tonight, I realized I've got something to say, even more so than when Mike and his family met me before. And I've got something to say. And my biggest belief is the biggest gift we have as human beings is to inspire other people. Right? You don't know what people are doing. You don't know what they've been through. But if you can inspire other people with your journey, as small or as big as it is, and in the grand scheme of things, mine's quite small, then if you can inspire one person or two person or three people to do the best, to make their dreams come true, to live to the best of their ability, then that's what it's all about. I've got my piece of the pie. I love what I do. I'm blessed every day. I have the best job in the world. And so now as I get older, I want to really start to try and inspire people with that story, and I think I can. And so we're going to see that a little bit. Now, I don't know how long this is going to go, because this is my first PowerPoint presentation in a motivational capacity ever. So no, don't clap yet. Wait, stay with the group. It's better if we get there at the same time. So I'm going to click my little button. So I want you to see this. That's where it all started. So that is an online submission form for Britain's Got Talent. I tried for 6 years to get on that show. I sent videos online. There's two ways you get on Britain's Got Talent. One, they invite you. If they invite you, they pay all the expenses, right? I'm going to let you into a little secret that nobody knows, and I probably shouldn't tell you this, but Britain's Got Talent, America's Got Talent don't pay their acts, but they will pay all the expenses. And if you get through the first round, the audition round, to the quarterfinals, semifinals, and final, they will pay for your stuff. So if in a magician or escape artist, they paid for all my props. So America's Got Talent, I came out of that with $40,000 worth of props, one of which was never used. It cost $25,000. It was flight case. The flight case is 11 feet long. It went to my warehouse. It weighs 1,000 pounds. It never got on the final because I didn't get to the final. It's mine. I own it. They pay for everything. But they don't pay you a fee. But every other Got Talent show in the world pays a fee for you to appear on the show. Nobody knows that. But when I did Italy's Got Talent, they called me and said, what are your terms? What do you want? And I said, well, I want a flight and I want this, ship my props, my assistant, and I'd like this much money. And they went, okay, because it's a gig. They just want to get the ratings up. But Britain's Got Talent, America's Got Talent don't need to do that, so they don't pay. So if they invite you, they pay. But if they don't invite you, you pay for yourself. So I pay for myself. So I tried 6 years by filling that out online in Canada to go on the show. I didn't have a US visa, so I had to go on Britain's Got Talent, plus I'm from England. And that's how I got on. And then, so no response for 6 years. Again, power of persistence. If doors close, kick them open. If somebody says no, keep going until they say yes. If you send an email, you don't get a response, send 30 emails. Be a stalker. No, I'm serious. Because in today's world, an email gets lost. It goes in a junk mail. They don't see it. You know what? Until you get a response, send the emails. Right? They will get back to you eventually. And eventually, they'll either go, look, leave us alone. Or they'll go, okay, you're persistent. We'll take you. Right? So I sent this 6 years. And on the last year, I sent them a video, which I'm going to get into in a second, that was very special, and it got me on the show. But here's the thing that a lot of people don't know is, well, let me tell you why. The thing is, that there is my brother. That's my brother, Jonathan. He's 44 years old. I'm 51. My sister is between us. My brother, Jonathan, was born with a rare genetic disease called tuberous sclerosis, and it causes seizures, amongst other things. They're not curable. And so when my brother has a seizure, the lightning bolt goes out, and he's got calcium deposits in his brain. And it hits the calcium deposit, it pings all over the place, and it causes a seizure. It's not curable. I've watched my brother have seizure after seizure. I've watched him have 3 seizures in a row and go into a coma more times than I can count. I've watched his skin go from this color to the color of your tracksuit in front of my eyes. And so my brother, I tried to get on Britain's Got Talent, sending magic videos, and it never worked out. And then about 6 years after I started doing that, I went to England to visit my family, and I watched my brother have 3 seizures and go into a coma, right? And I came home and I said to my wife, I said, you know, at the very least, if I can't protect my brother, I should be able to know what it feels like for him to be aware, awake, trapped in his body, and he can't breathe. The next day, I start going to a swimming pool. No training, no nothing. I just went to a swimming pool, 6 o'clock when it opened, told the lifeguards what I was doing, and for the next 6 months, I went 4 times a week, forcing myself to stay underwater. And I went from 40 seconds to 4.5, 5 minutes. Just taught myself. And after six months, I thought I understood, but I realized that I didn't understand, because when it was really hurting and it burns, holding your breath, I could come out. So I went to a local plastics company and I had them build me a tank. I put it on my friend's garden. I got in, filled it with water, locked the lid. I lasted 20 seconds. And that's when I realized that's what it's like for my brother. That's what it's like. I'm going to cry. That's what it's like for my brother to be trapped underwater. And he goes through it every day of his life, right? So I then realized that was my journey. So I spent another year learning to be good with this space, to be underwater. And it's horrendous. It's horrific. You know, when you're underwater, you want to come out and breathe. Imagine that moment. That's called a contraction, where you go, when I do the water escape, I hit 30, 40 contractions. It's horrendous. Your lungs are on fire. It hurts. It's hell on earth. That's what I experience when I'm underwater, because your heart rate goes up. It burns your oxygen faster. There's no way around it. A free diver or something, it's easy. It's not easy. It's easier because there's no pressure. You're just relaxed. So I'm trying to pick locks and handcuffs. And so that's when I realized that's what my brother goes through. And after a year of doing that, I said, you know what? I'm going to put it in a show. And I put it in a show. And I videoed it. And I said to my wife, I'm going to try one more time. And I sent it to Britain's Got Talent. And they said yes. And so in 2017, I flew to Britain's Got Talent, and something strange happened. I spent $8,000 to get there on my expenses, my flights, sending my water tank, all that. I got there. I got on stage the day of the show. I was in rehearsal in the morning, and I was underwater a minute and a half, and the water tank cracked, and it exploded, and all the water came out and flooded the set. I didn't get to go on the show, and I was absolutely devastated. I was 45 years old. This was my moment. This was my dream. I was doing a good living, making money as kids' parties and weddings, but this was my dream. This was the moment that was going to open the doors. And it went off the edge of the stage. And I was depressed. I went back home. I spent a week in bed. And I was supposed to be on a show called Penn and Teller Foolers 4 weeks later. And I had no tank. It was in bits. I was terrified. So I got up one day after a week in bed, and I got that tattoo done. It's right there. Never give up. And I live by it. And every day I brush my teeth, I look at that in the mirror. And I went out and I ordered a new water tank. You can't get them on Amazon. There are places where you can get water tanks. So I got a water tank, and we didn't have time to get it to me. So I shipped it to Vegas, sight unseen, to Penn and Teller Foolers. And it's a small tank if you've never seen it. And we got it on the dock. We uncrated it. And I got in and I realized it was about this much smaller than my old tank. And I was so crushed up, I couldn't hold my breath. And I thought, I can't do this again. I can't do this again. So I said, they said, what do you want to do? I said, put me in it, lock the lid, and unless I pass out, leave me in there. Don't get me out. That's where I said it on Britain's Got Talent, and that's where it came from. Because Simon Cowell said, what do we do? I said, well, you know, unless I pass out, leave me in there. Don't get me out. And so that's where it came from. They rolled me out, and I did the show, and I did the escape. And that moment changed my life, because I took that video and I sent it back to Britain's Got Talent. And I said, I want to come back on the show. And I sent 30 emails. That's going back to what I was saying. I sent 30 emails and they didn't respond. And on the 30th email, they sent me a message and said, you're obviously persistent. We'll have you back on the show. Because I said I can do it. And I went back. And in 2018, I went back to the show. That's Simon Cowell. He's thinking lawsuit. 2018, I went back to the show. And not only did I get 4 yeses and a standing ovation, by the way, I have another tattoo on this hand that says the date and 4 yeses, because by never giving up, I achieved what I set out to achieve. And I went on, I got a standing ovation, 4 yeses, I made it all the way to the semi-finals. I got voted the #1 scariest act of all time, even today. I got voted the #2 most viewed act of all time on Britain's Got Talent with 500 million views to date. That moment right there changed my life. And it took me 6 years to get to the first time where it all went wrong and the tank split. And by being persistent, I went back and I did it. And my family were there, my mom, my dad, my brother was there. I did it in front of millions of people. It went viral and it literally changed my life 6 years ago. And so what you see in the rest of these slides is the journey it's taken me on over that 6 years. But I was 45 years old. And so I've said this before. I said it in the lectures today. I said it last night. And I mean it from the bottom of my soul, sincerely. If you take nothing else away from this, please take this. The second you walk out that door, your life starts tomorrow. Make it count. We don't get do-overs. Don't get to the point where you, towards the end of your life, in your latter years, you go, oh, I wish I had done this. I wish I'd have played guitar. I wish I'd have been in a band. I wish I'd have been an artist. We've got to pay money, we've got to pay bills. But honestly, if you find your passion and you do it, it's going to take time, but you can do it. I'm living my best life. I have no concerns. I mean, I have, mortgages and stuff, but I am literally the happiest I've ever been in my life. I'm 51 years old, and I did it because I never gave up, and I persisted. And so that was the audition round, and that's the semi-finals. Now, just so you know, when I did the audition round, I had nothing else. I'd got magic, but I didn't have escapes. And I said to them, I want to do magic. And they said, no, you've got a beard, you've got tattoos. You're an escape artist. You've got to do escapes. Well, I never wanted to do more escapes. They're horrendous. I hate doing escapes. I hate them with a passion. I've drowned and died, literally clinically dead, twice, and been revived. I've fallen doing a straitjacket, and to this day, my back is done. I take all kinds of medication. I've pulled fish hooks through my tongue. I've burnt myself. I've injured myself. I've taken toenails off. I hate it with a passion. Look at that face. Does that look like somebody who's faking it? I hate it with a passion. But Britain's Got Talent said, no, you're the escape artist. So we had to do this. So this thing was built for Britain's Got Talent. It was shipped, because they don't tell you. After you've done the audition round, you've got 3 months until the next round, but they won't tell. They'll say, what do you want to do? And you'll say, well, I would do this and this. No. And eventually you give up. So I got on a guy in Calgary, which is like a hour and a half flight from me. He builds these. He built the water tank. And so I said, Richard, they're not letting me do anything. I said, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to pay for a flight under my own expense, fly to Calgary, put this on my head, take a picture of it, and send it to them and say, this is what it looks like. So I did. And they said, okay. This was 2 weeks before I was going live on the show. Live. 2 weeks. Never done it before. So we didn't have time. It was shipped straight to England. I get to England. I get in this thing. Now, this thing, just so you know, is chains up to the ceiling. There's a metal straitjacket. There's a bar goes up the middle with padlocks that covers the front of this so that this can't open. There's 2 padlocks here. There's a hole in the top. I get in. I take a breath. They clamp me and everything, handcuff my hands behind my back, and then they fill that box with water, and it's a choke hold on my neck. It's not a neoprene sleeve. It's a choke hold. That's how it keeps the water in. It's dripping out a little bit, but it's literally a choke hold. So now I can't get a breath. And they say to me, look, Matt, you did 2 minutes 10 in the water tank. We want you to go longer in this. And I was like, you can't dial this into order. I can't I can't hold my breath longer in this. It's impossible. I can't get a breath. Well, Matt, you've got to do it. Otherwise, it's not going to be, So I go to England. We have 3 days to rehearse. And every morning I woke up, I don't want to do this. I just want to go home. I'm going to kill myself. And anyway, we did it live. And I did 2 minutes, 24 seconds in that thing. And it was horrendous. And that was the semi-final. I got voted off because Simon Cowell said, what do we do? If we put you through, you're going to kill yourself. And I went, well, you wanted me to do it. And so I got voted off. You know, Houdini had a saying, nobody wants to see me die, but everybody wants to be there when it happens. It's true. Everybody wants to watch the horror show, the car crash. I kind of wish I'd have blacked out because people would have lined up around the block to see that show, wouldn't they? So anyway, that was built for Britain's Got Talent, and I got voted off in the semi-finals. But the greatest thing about that was that I got the airtime, and people saw me suddenly, and I was doing this, and I kind of made a rod for my own back because now I'm the escape artist. But who cares? I'm getting gigs. It literally changed my life overnight. Overnight. Now I had these 2 escapes. Now I started getting called from every talent show in the world. And so I went on a show. So this one. So then after that, I get called by this new show called The World's Best. Did anybody see this show? World's Best. It was right after Super Bowl. It aired right after Super Bowl. James Corden was the host. RuPaul, Faith Hill, Drew Barrymore were the judges. And the idea of the show was they invited the top 50 acts in the world in every genre, from an 8-year-old playing 2 pianos at the same time to a slackline walker to an escape artist. And what they would do is they pitch us all against each other. So I might be going against an 8-year-old playing piano, right? World's Best. So the idea was first episode you do, and then they go from 50 to 25. And so they said, do you want to do the show in LA? And I said, yeah, sure. So I went down and we did the water tank again. They put it on top of that big bridge. And I ended up going way longer because I had a problem with the keys. So I think this one was like 2:30 or something. And what they did was they put me at the end of the show as the cliffhanger. So it gets to 2:20 and the music stopped and RuPaul's on his feet, everybody's screaming, and then they cut the show. It was right after Super Bowl. It went out to 22 million people. And they stopped the show. And then in the next episode, I'm the first one on the show. So it was cliffhanger. But in the meantime, what happened was we filmed this because all this stuff on TV, a lot of it's not live. This was filmed in November and it was going to air in February or March. No, February. So in February, my wife and I are in Cabo having a week vacation because the previous year was crazy. We're having a week vacation and I'm laying on the beach and I get a call. So in that, I made it to the top 25. So in the next round, they said, what can you do other than water? So I did this upside-down straitjacket escape with the rope on fire, and I fell. And that messed up my back. But after I'd done the water escape, we're in Cabo, laying on the beach, and I get a call from James Corden's team. James wants you on the Late Late Show. They've just shown it after Super Bowl. They've finished the episode with me underwater. They're going to do the next episode 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later. He wants you on his show. He wants to interview you. I said, okay, great. And so I turn up and they tell me, right, you're going to be behind the curtain. You climb in the tank. We'll lock it. James Corden's going to say, everybody's worried about Matt. We don't know if he survived. We want to show you he's okay. And then they roll me out in the tank underwater and he interviews me in the tank. And they didn't let me out. They rolled me off. And the funny thing was, we were rehearsing it. I was rehearsing it with James, and he got a script, and he's like, yeah, okay. I said, guys, I'm behind the curtain that you want me to get in and lock it before I come out. So that's 20 seconds, 25 seconds. Then you roll me out. That's 5 seconds. Then he comes over, interviews me. It was like a minute. So we're at 1:30. There's a live audience. And then I said, so, yeah, we can do it. They're like, do you want to do it in one take? Because it's not live. I said, yeah, I'll do it in one take. So I don't know if you've ever seen James Corden, but this guy ad-libs a lot. So they roll me out, and he decides he's going to ad-lib. And I was in that tank for 2.5 minutes on the Late Late Show. And I'm literally at the end of it. If you watch, it's on YouTube. And his interview, he's going like this. So, Matt, what do you think? I'm just going, bloop, bloop, bloop. And eventually, they stop the cameras rolling. They open the lid, and there's kids, so I can't say what I said. But I turned to him and I went, and he's a great guy. He's a great guy. But he said, oh, I knew you got it. You're a professional. I said, I'm not faking it here. I'm dying. And you decide you're going to ad-lib. But it was a really, really funny bit. Anyway, so I did that show, World's Best. And then I got invited by Tusa Cavallis in Rome, which is their version of Britain's Got Talent. This is in Tusa Cavallis. They're the ones that paid me to be on the show. I didn't even go in the audition. I went straight into the semifinals and did this act. And then I made it to the final, but I couldn't make it back. So I did this again for a second time. You can see the bar there in front of the door. I did it a second time in Italy. But shortly after Italy, I got a call from Penn and Teller Foolers. I'd already done the show. And this goes back again to the persistence. I'd already done Penn and Teller Foolers, and they called me up and said, we want you back on the show. Have you got anything else you can do? I said, well, yeah, I've got this head box. It's the only 2 escapes I owned. I said, I've got this head box because I'd never done it on American TV. So I get to Penn and Teller Foolers. There's 1,000 people in the audience. There's cameras on my face on giant screens. Penn and Teller are right there. It's already, your heart rate's up here. I climb in the box on my head. We start the escape. And I've got a signal for my team that if I have trouble, I go like this and they get me out. So I'm there. I'm in the thing. And I'm in there way longer. The music ends and I couldn't, the last 2, I couldn't get it undone. I just couldn't. I'm picking them with a pick and I couldn't get it undone. And I had this moment where I literally thought, I'm going to die. This is it. I'm going to die. And I remember trying to give the signal, and I blacked out. And I hung myself underwater because it's here and hanging from chair. I hung myself, and I blacked out. And I don't know this, but apparently I had a full seizure on stage. The whole audience watched the eyes roll up in the back of my head. They brought the curtain down, and then they hauled me off. And halfway on the ambulance ride, I woke up, and they hauled me in and did all these tests, and that was the first time I drowned. Nobody knows that. I had to sign an NDA because they were going to get me to pay for it on my insurance, and my insurance wouldn't pay because it was on a TV show. So I fought them, and I won, and so they paid for it for my visit. And so, but I had to sign an NDA saying I wouldn't talk about it. So I did, but. So, fast forward now, I've done that. One of my dreams before I went on Britain's Got Talent, there's a show called The Illusionists. And you may have seen it's toured all over the US, all over the world. It is the premier magicians, illusionists, hypnotists, everything in the world. These are the best of the best. And I'd seen these posters all over the world, all over Broadway, and I wanted to be on the show. And I thought, how can I be on that show? I wrote myself a step. Here's how I'm going to get on the show. And next thing I know, I got a call from Cirque du Soleil, and they were like, we want you to do the water escape in the show. I said, great. Not only did I get on the show, but I ended up being the front guy in the poster. I toured Saudi Arabia, Panama, Mexico City, all over the world doing my water escape. We do 14 shows a week. I'd escape from water 14 times a week, 3 times on a Saturday, twice on a Sunday. And I was now considered one of the best people in the world, and this is not an ego thing. There's only about 4 people in the world that do underwater escapes. It's really difficult, and I'm considered, I get calls now if that's what they want. I just got an email today, actually, from Europe. They want me to be in a show for 5 days. And so that, now I'm in Saudi Arabia looking at myself all over the highway, at the airport, on billboards, at the front of it, and that was a moment where I realized I never gave up. If I'd have stopped sending those emails, I'd have never done that. So it was a really, really cool moment in my career. That was I got called by History Channel to do a thing for Houdini, so I went to New Jersey and they hauled me up on a crane. All right, has anybody seen this on America's Got Talent? So how long we been going here? I don't know. 20 minutes? All right. So the story behind this, America's Got Talent tried for 3 years to get me on the show after I'd done Britain's Got Talent. I did it 2 years ago. And they kept calling, can you do that? I said, no, I'm busy, I've got gigs. Okay. And then this was COVID. First year of COVID, I went from hero to zero. I had no shows, no money, nobody had any work. Second year, they called, said, we're going to do the show. I said, okay, yeah, I'm not doing anything, I'll do it. What can you do? I said, well, I've got these 2. Well, we've seen them, Matt. Okay. What, have you got any ideas? I said, yeah, I've got this. So this thing, do you know those things that you go on for your back and you flip over, an inversion table? I've got an inversion table because I have a bad back. I got an inversion table in my basement, and I kept looking at it every time I walked by it and thought, you know, if I had a saw to that and some chains and a water thing, a timer, because there's a little, I don't know if you saw it, but there's a little tank of water here, and when we turn the tap, it runs into this, and there are 2 pink lines. And the reason is we could never figure out exactly where it was or it tripped it. And so there are 2 pink lines. So the water fills this, and when this gets heavy enough, it pulls on that, and it drops these saws, which are spinning like 1,000 revolutions a minute, literally will chop you into chopped liver, and it drops them right where I'm hanging there. So I have to escape the straitjacket, use my arms to get myself the right way up, jump off before the saws come down. That's the idea. So they said, yeah, we love it. Great. Build it. I said, okay. They said, how much? I said, $5,000. And that's cheap. That's cheap. Like my welder, who's not a magician, we were just going to go in his garage and weld it. And they said, yeah, okay, great. We're not paying for it, but we'll fly you down. I said, I'm not doing it then. I'm not paying for it. You want me to do the show? Well, you're doing the audition. We can't pay for you. It's favoritism. I said, well, then fine. I'm not doing it. 2 weeks before the show he's going to film, they call me back and they say, can you do that thing we were talking about? And I said, well, it doesn't exist. 2 weeks. Can you build it in 2 weeks? I said, okay. So me and my welder spent, 14-hour days welding this thing together, seeing if it would work. It fell on my head, cut my head. It fell on my welder's head, cut his head. It wasn't going. It just fell. And then we kept getting in it. It kept tripping. We couldn't figure out, it was a nightmare. And then we made a shipping crate, which cost $2,000. And then we shipped it to LA. Never performed it, never rehearsed it. And the day before we filmed it, I rehearsed it in the lobby of the theater. All the acts were doing the thing, and I'm there on this thing, trying to make it work. And they roll it out, and Simon Cowell goes, oh, this guy's nuts. I saw him on Britain's Got Talent. And then Howie Mandel says, how long have you been rehearsing this? I said, yesterday in the lobby, and it's true. And I actually burst into tears. They cut it out. I burst into tears because I was so scared that I'd be in a million pieces. I was so scared that I burst into tears. I literally thought, I don't want to do this. They cut that out. You don't see that. And anyway, I did it. It worked. It missed me by that much. And I got to the quarterfinals. And in the quarterfinals, we decided it'd be a good idea to build a door, chain me to it, and have a chainsaw above my face, coming down at my face. We thought that'd be a really good idea. Again, never done it. We built it. I drove to Vegas. I laid on it. We shipped it to LA, to the Kodak Theater. I rehearsed it in the lobby of the Kodak Theater the day before it went live. And then I walked out, and I did that. First and last time I've ever done those 2 stunts. Never did them again. Quarterfinal, got voted off. But, yeah. Again, doing escapes. I just wanted to do card tricks, but there you go. The moral of this story is don't get a beard and tattoos. That's the moral of this story. So that was America's Got Talent 2 years ago. Who saw that? Anybody see it? Yeah, a few. Funnily enough, that's got me no shows whatsoever. People are still calling from Britain's Got Talent. Still calling. I still get gigs. I don't do the water stunt anymore. I do it if people ask. If I get jobs like this one in Europe, I'll do it for 5 days because they'll pay me good money because I'm one of the only people that can do it. But I try not to because I've got to work out and train breath holding for like 3 months, and then I've got to eat certain foods, and I can't have a beer. It's just not my gig anymore. Bearing in mind on cruise ships, well, I'll tell you about that. Anyway, we're getting through this. I'm happy we're getting through it. So then I do that. I go home. COVID's finishing. I go home. I'm laying on my couch. I've got no work for the year after COVID. I'm laying on my couch in my dressing gown. Never give up. What am I going to do? And then my phone rings. And it's a guy called Nick Wallenda from the Flying Wallendas. He walked over Times Square, tightrope, volcanoes. National treasure. And he says, hey, I'm opening a circus in New York called the Big Apple Circus. Well, it was there, but he bought it. He went bankrupt before COVID, and he bought it. And he said, I like your water tank. Do you want to do it in the show? I said, yeah, I'd love to. So they flew me out to New York, and I was on Broadway for 3.5 months. We took the saw as well, the flip-over thing, but it kept malfunctioning. Nearly killed me, so we took it out of the show. And I was in the Big Apple Circus, and the day that I arrived, the day after I arrived in New York, bearing in mind this was the end of COVID, about 6 months before I went to New York, I got a call from my dad, and my dad never calls me. I always call him. And he left a message on my phone. My wife and I were out shopping. He left a message, hey, son, call me. I said, okay, Dad. I called him. Yeah, I've got cancer. It's in my blood. But I'm all right. I'm doing blood transfusions every day and chemo. I'm fine. I'm totally fine. So, okay, Dad, well, we're in COVID. I don't even think I can come. I couldn't go, right? And I was going to New York, and I said, I'll tell you what, I'll get to New York. We'll rehearse the show, and then I'll come to England for a few days. I'll see you, and then I'll go back. I landed in New York, and the next day I was in a costume fitting, and my sister called and said Dad had died on his couch because he took himself off all treatment. I didn't know. And he went home, he didn't take his morphine, and he just died on his couch. And I was in bits, completely in bits. And about a few days later, I had to do a rehearsal of the water tank, and I had no business. I had no business being in that tank. It required so much focus. I should not have got in the tank, but I had a lot of pressure from the producers and the directors, and you know, so I climb in the tank in a rehearsal, and I black out. But it was way worse than Penn and Teller. I black out, but because we haven't rehearsed it before, the safety team, who weren't my team, they were stood behind me. They didn't know I blacked out. They thought it was part of the gig. So they left me in there for quite a while. And by the time they realized I blacked out, they took a sledgehammer to the side of the tank and smashed it. I don't remember any of this. I was like clinically gone. And the fire, ambulance, police were all there. They pulled me out. I have no recollection. And the moment I had recollection is when this photo was taken, when my eyes opened and I looked at my tank and it was in pieces. And the first thing I said to Nick Willender, my boss, is I said, how am I going to do the act? Like, who did that? And anyway, and so I said, Nick, take the photo, because we could use this for advertising for the show. Take the photo. Anyway, so that was that. And I was going to my dad's funeral in England. I got cleared, and Nick said, what do you want to do? We were supposed to do 3.5 months. And I said, I want to do the show. So he agreed to build me a new tank. I flew back to England, went to my dad's funeral, came back to New York, did 3 days of rehearsals. We opened the show. I did 3.5 months, 100 shows, locked in the tank of water. Yeah, so that was a real hard spot for me because of my dad. I didn't have time to really process it or time to think about it. But another reason I drowned is I lost my hearing. I've lost 90% of my hearing, and when I was in the tank, they were playing the music, and I couldn't hear it. So I was trying to. That's how I know where I'm at, and I couldn't hear it. And so I thought I'd not been under long, and I've been under way too long. And the directors were there. I didn't want to come out, and I just blacked out. And it was very scary for everybody, the other acts, because I was gone for like 2 minutes, and you know, I'm floating around. And anyway, never give up, right? So anyway, that's me. That was like near the last show of 100 shows. There's the water tank. That's me in a neoprene leotard, which I will never wear again. It is not flattering at all. But that's me. New York, Broadway, 100 shows, living my dream. Another one of my things, I wrote a bullet list of everything I wanted to achieve, and that was one of them. Shortly after that, I had no more gigs. I went home. This is the thing of being an artist. You literally go home. People think, oh, you're on Broadway, you're on Britain's Got Talent. Yeah, I'm on Broadway, but then I have no more gigs. Like, it's feast or famine. I went home. I'm laying on my couch. For some reason, I don't have to call anybody or email. I just seem to be lucky, and people call. And I'm laying on my couch. I'd done some cruise ships, met Mike and stuff, and I get a call from Celebrity Cruises, and they'd heard about me, and they said, hey, Matt, we're launching this brand new ship called the Celebrity Beyond. It was their flagship. It's a $1.3 billion ship. It's got a state-of-the-art theater. There it is. That's my home. It's 1,000 seats. It's got a balcony all the way around. It's 17 million pixel screen. It opens, it closes. It's got doors in it. There's lifts in the stage. There's pit lifts that go down. There's smoke machines, bubble machines, 1 million lights. It's state of the art. That theater costs more than Celebrity's first cruise ship. It's something like, I don't know, $20-30 million or something. Anyway, so they said to me, we're launching this brand new ship. It wasn't even built yet. They're building it. And they said, we'd like you to headline the ship. Okay. With my show? Yeah, with your full show. Do I have to do the water tank? No. You do magic, right? I said, yeah. I said, yeah, do magic. As long as you do one escape. So I said, great. So I went on in April 2022 in Southampton, England. We set off on the inaugural sail, and it's been my home ever since. I'm there right now. I'm contracted till January 2026. But I don't have next year's contract yet, but it's my home. And so I do, last year I did 300 days on board, but this year I do 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. That's enough for me. My equipment's all there. It's all processed, lights and tech and everything. And there's a shot of it full of people doing the little Houdini rope trick. And here's a shot of me doing the straitjacket. Oh, well, I guess it's not on there. I thought I had a shot. Hang on. I want you to see if it's on there. Is it not on there? Let me have a look. Let me do this. Celebrity Beyond, Beyond Theatre One, Beyond. There it is. Is that? No. Is that it? Hang on. I'll find it. No? Oh, I took it off. Anyway, there was a picture of me doing the straitjacket escape with a saw and stuff. That's on there. And so now that's my home. I have to work a lot less. I work 7-day cruise. I work 1 day. I have 6 days off. I board as a guest. I have a guest cabin. I have no crew responsibilities. I bring my wife on. They pay for it. They fly me back and forth, hotels, pay me a great fee. I have an 8-tech team. I'm living my dream. And all that, everything you just saw and all those stories happened in 6 years because I never gave up. And I was just persistent with everything I did. I was 45 years old. So the moral is, what I hope you learn from this, I'm not special. I'm really not. I'm not special. I didn't go to university. You're more special than me. I just had an unwavering desire and a belief that I could do it. And it wasn't until I was 45 that it actually took off and happened. But now I travel the world. I do this. I gig. I do magic. And I'm hoping to do a few more of these because I really want to use my story now to inspire other people. And hopefully it's done that for you. Second you go out those doors, first day of the rest of your life. Don't forget. Please promise me you won't. Anyway, that's it. Thanks so much, guys.
Well, it's your story, so.
One thing I learned doing my show, especially on cruise ships, is I always say, I think I said it a few times last night, I don't tell lies, I tell the truth. If you tell the truth in your show, you never go wrong. I don't have a script, but the script I do have is my life story, so I never have to remember the script. I just have to ad-lib on the script. Because it's my life, so you don't have to remember it.
Yeah, I think one of the things I didn't realize until yesterday when we were talking is you were doing this when you were in high school.
Yeah.
So you were saying you would leave high school.
Yeah, I started when I was 12. We were very lucky. So how it happened was we had I had a couple of little plastic magic tricks from Walmart, and then my mom hired a magician for my brother and sister's birthday party. And he came to the party, and halfway through the show, my sister jumped up and said, "My brother's a magician." And I said, "Shut up. I'm not." I had a few little tricks. And then after the party, he pulled me over like I did with this little boy just now downstairs. He pulled me over and said, Are you serious? I said, "Yeah, I do a little bit." And he said, "Well, there's a magic shop in Sheffield," which was a half-hour bus ride. "Really?" Yeah, magic shop. So I went there one Saturday, and I walked in. And after 3 Saturdays of going, they said, "Come here, young man." And they invited me through this beaded curtain, and there was a proper magic shop with all these magicians. Proper, like one guy worked with like Houdini and stuff like that. And I went there every Saturday. I was the first one in at 9, last one out at 5 when it closed. Every Saturday, 52 weeks a year, all through my teen years, right up to being 18, I went to that shop. And I learned my craft, I listened. And at 16, somebody walked in and said, "Oh, the bowling alley, their magicians left. They need another magician." And I applied. I was 16 years old. And I got the job. And they paid me £100 a week, so about $150. This is, how old? This is 35 years ago. $150 a week, whether I did one show or 10. And the kids bowled, 8, and then I did them a little 10-minute magic show. I got £150 a week. And all my friends were doing paper rounds for like £20 or... So my dad would pick me up from school, take me to the gig, I'd do my shows, and that was, yeah.
That's awesome. Do you think that's part of the reason, sort of that first experience, why you're so open to questions and to engagement? Do you think it's that first sort of inviting you through that beaded curtain is part of the reason why you're so open?
I just remember that magician was so open with me. I wouldn't be here if he hadn't said there was a magic shop in Sheffield. So because he was so open with me, I feel like he's just passed away, but I owe it to. It's just the way I was raised. I'm really open. I share. You can ask me anything, whether you're a magician or whatever. You can ask me how much I charge. I'll tell you. You can ask me how to get on a cruise ship. I'll give you the roadmap. I won't do the work for you, but I'll give you the roadmap.
You won't tell us the secrets to your tricks, though.
No, I won't tell you the secrets to my tricks. Actually, that is true.
That's too bad because that there was a trick the first time we saw him where he linked 3 wedding rings together, and it keeps me up at night still to this day because I still don't understand how he did it.
Yeah, I actually took it out of my show, but I'd forgotten about it. Mike saw me, and most magicians link big silver rings, and it always occurred to me, well, yeah, but people think the fake rings. So I had this idea of borrowing 3 wedding rings or engagement rings and linking them together and giving them back to the people, and they're linked. They can examine them before I unlink them again. And so it was in my show on Norwegian for a while in the supper club. Yeah, I took it out. I don't know why I took it out.
Well, it lives rent free in my head. So just so you know.
Okay.
So now that you've made it, right? You're on.
I mean, I haven't. I really haven't made it. I'm just still Matthew doing tricks. I just have got myself better gigs, but I don't know that I've made it. I've made it. You know what? I have made it in as far as not in an ego way, but I've made it in as far as I set out to make it my career, something that I love, and now I do it. I love it. I pay my mortgage, and I love it.
And people call you instead of you having to send them 30 emails.
People call me. Yeah.
So, are you still impressed by other magicians? Do you see people now who you're blown away by?
I am by no means not even close to the best magician. With the water tank, I am because there's not many people doing it. It's a very niche market. But magicians, not even close. What I get from people, what people tell me, I get it all the time. They see the show and they come up after the show and they go, "You were great, we enjoyed it, the tricks fooled me," but it's not the tricks, it's the story. It's the things you talk about your grandma and your dad and your experiences, and you inspire us, and that's what I get, and I think that's my gift. Is the magic is the foundation of the house, but how I build the house is with the stories, and because my stories are your stories. We've all lost somebody, we've all had hardship, we've all had things go wrong. We all try to be our best every day, and I think they're the same stories. So, people relate to that, and I realize people don't remember tricks. People remember people and how you make them feel, and I think that's what I've learned. That's what my superpower is.
That's one of the things that stuck with me in watching the show last night. It reminded me a lot. I mean, like you said, it's a lot of the same material that was in that original show we saw.
Yeah.
But it is that story. I was very close to my grandmother, so when you talk about the music box and things like that, I remembered that. As soon as you put the music box on the stool, I remembered all of it.
So yeah, it's all true. It's all true. I don't tell lies. It's all true. I didn't always perform that way. I used to do the snow like everybody did it because Copperfield did it. Oh, when I was a kid, I never saw snow, and David did. He lived in New York. I mean, but that's how it. So then when David did it, everybody did it that way. I never saw snow, and then you see snow. I used to do it that way. I used to do it to Wonderful World by Louis Armstrong. But when I grew a beard and changed my image and started doing a skate, I suddenly found myself different. And I realized that, no, what's special about me is my story. That's what's special about you and you and you and you is your story.
I'll ask one more question. I have a lot, but that would give some time to the audience to ask questions too. One of the reasons why, the primary reason why I thought you'd be great for this too is if you follow you on social media, and then what you've seen the last 2 days is you really lean into vulnerability, right? You don't shy away from failures. You don't shy away from times you thought you couldn't do it, those sort of things. Talk about why that's so important because you didn't it's not just today, right? And if anybody follows you on social media, they can see it all the time. You weave it into everything you do. Talk about why that's important.
Because people recognize sincerity a mile off. people, there's two types of shows. If you go to watch Cirque du Soleil, it's an experience. You watch it from here, and it doesn't matter whether you interact or not, right? If you are doing a show with interaction, people recognize sincerity. People will tell you, people know right away if you're telling a lie, if it's not true. So I would rather stuff goes wrong in my shows all the time. Last night stuff went wrong. You know, we had a thing where you couldn't see the number board properly on the camera, or the sun was shining in, so the screens weren't bright. That wasn't my fault. It wasn't the tech team's fault. The tech team actually made it. Your tech team are amazing. They made it the best it could be. But we were dealing with stuff. That's just live theater. And so stuff always goes wrong in every show. You just have to be humble. I think the audience just wants you to take charge. The audience doesn't want to feel, if you watch a magician, for example, that you get that moment, or a singer, or where you go, "Ooh, this feels uncomfortable," because it's, you know, they're not commanding the audience. The audience don't want to have to look after you. They want you to take charge and get on with it. So if something goes wrong, they don't care. The audience doesn't care. They just want you to take charge. They just want you to go, "Yeah, got it. We don't have to worry about him." And so I've had stuff go. I've had my show on the ship where I'm running. If you don't know, like this, last night, all the cameras, the images that appear on screen, the music when it cues off, I'm running that whole show with just a little remote in my pocket. I'm running everything. So, and on the cruise ship, I do the same. We have all these lights, we have pits. It's a bigger production, right? But one night, my laptop's on the side of the stage. I'm running the show. And halfway through the show, everything goes out. My camera, the images, the music, everything stops. Goes just dead. I'm like, what the heck? And I look over and I realize I'd not plugged in my laptop, so the battery ran out. So then I'm live in front of 1,000 people. I duck down behind the monitor and I'm down there and I'm talking to them. I'm kneeling on the stage. I'm talking, "Hey guys." And I'm like, "I bet you David Copperfield doesn't have this problem," you know, and I'm doing my thing. Had they paid more, it would be a better show. And I'm doing my thing. I boot up the laptop, I wait, and then I boot up QLab, and then I pull up my cue list, and then I start it, and then I stand up and I go, "You never noticed a thing." And I carried on with the show. And somebody came up after the show and said, "Oh, we thought that was part of the show. That was hilarious." Nobody knows where you're going until you get there. So don't tell them what the ending is. And if something goes wrong, deal with it. Be honest about it. Be sincere. Don't try and hide it with stuff, and then the audience feels, "Oh, this is uncomfortable. I don't like this." I have stuff go wrong all the time. I've floated somebody, and they floated up, and then they've dropped because it's gone wrong, and I've caught them. Stuff goes wrong all the time. I mean, it just is. It's not a matter of when, it's a matter of if. No, it's not a matter of if. It's a matter of when. Like, that went wrong.
And I'm sure that was intentional.
It really wasn't. So I'm such a dummy. My wife says to me all the time, "How do you get yourself on a plane, off a plane, to a place?" I can't remember. I can't hear. I'm such a dummy. I'm such a klutz. Stuff goes wrong all the time, but it's how you deal with it. Make it part of the show. And then when the show's over, leave it on the stage. I've learned that because I'm my own worst enemy. People will come up after the show and go, "Oh, I love the show." And I go, "Yeah, except for the part where the person fell from the levitate." And suddenly they go, "Oh, yeah, that was kind of bad." Leave it on the stage.
I think you should sell shirts that say "Leave it on the stage."
Leave it on the stage. Good
merch opportunity for you.
Yeah. Even as a speaker. Goes wrong, whatever. Leave it on the stage. Nothing you can do about it. It's pointless worrying about it. Get off, go home. Same as work. If you go to work and something goes wrong, leave it there. Deal with it the next day. You have got no... my wife, I bring her out of it all the time because my wife worries about stuff. And I say, there's nothing you can do. When my wife got diagnosed last year with cancer, with breast cancer. And she found out, she was devastated. And I'm happy to say she's beat it. She had a really horrendous surgery, but she beat it. She's been discharged. She doesn't have any more cancer. It's gone. She has to take these pills for 5 years, but she's done. But when she found out, I consoled her, but then I said, "Look, there's nothing we can do, so let's deal with it. Let's move on. Let's be proactive. You've got to deal with it and just move on. You know, if it goes wrong, leave it alone. It's gone. It's in history. It's past. You know."
Awesome. Well, Ashton has a microphone, so if people have questions, raise your hand and Ashton will bring it over to you.
Good. Let's all go drink.
No one ever wants to ask the first question.
My Italian friend from Sicily.
Good. Okay, you can hear me. Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Isabella. I'm from Italy, and I have like actually two questions. The first question is, you talked a lot about your family and stuff, and I know that it's really personal, so you don't like free, like, if you don't want like to give an answer, I totally understand, but like maybe might be touching, I don't know, but what is personally, or at least what was the favorite trick of your father that you used to do with magic and stuff? Is there something that he really enjoyed that you do and you did? And
I did a trick in my show last night with a piece of string.
yeah, I
Th-
remember that.
I dedicate to my dad. I don't think he had a favorite. I always knew when my dad liked a trick because he would say the simplest ones are the best, like I said last night. And I think what he meant by that was sometimes I would overthink things, whether it be in the patter that I was saying or, the moves I had to do. And when I showed my dad something that was actually easier for me to do, it allowed me to work on my performance more and I was more relaxed. So my dad would always go, oh, the simplest ones are the best. It might not be super simple, but I was comfortable with it, so I presented it better. So as a young kid, he always watched my magic, but he always did it. I had to twist his arm because my dad was a car mechanic. He'd come home, he was filthy. He'd clean up, he'd sit down, he'd have his dinner, and I'd go, Dad, can I show you a trick? And he'd go, Matthew, just give me a minute. Okay, Dad, okay. And I'd go off and then, can I show you a trick? And then, he'd say, okay, fine, show me a trick. And so anything that he didn't have to focus on too much, he'd go, the simplest ones are the best. I love those. Then as I got old, when I started doing the water escapes and stuff, he was with me at Britain's Got Talent, Late Show, because my brothers in the story, they fly my brother and dad wherever I did the TV stuff. They fly them there. They flew them to LA. They gave them a budget to spend, hotels. And so my brother was like a little celebrity. He still is in his hometown. So I think that my dad was just really supportive of me doing what I wanted to do. And he was self-employed. So he encouraged me to be self-employed. Yeah, I think that's it, really.
Thanks for the answer. And the second question is, you've been to Italy, so it makes sense for me to ask you what was the most striking aspect of you coming to Italy and performing there, like on the stage?
I've been to Italy a lot. I performed on Italy's Got Talent in Rome. That was amazing. And I got a full day to walk around Rome. I did everything. I went from the Colosseum to the Vatican, walked and did every stop on the way. I loved it so much. My other trips back to Italy I've done on cruise ships. So my favorite place is Florence. And then we're talking about other places. I love Italy. I've toured all over Europe: Italy, France, Germany, Norway, Denmark, Austria. Yeah, everywhere. I won't drive in Italy because you guys are crazy. But have you ever seen a car without a dent in Italy? They don't exist. Do you know if you rent a car in France, they won't let you. They'll let you take it to every country, and it'll say not Italy.
Roads are not better.
Well, I'm only talking about cities like Rome, Naples, Florence. It's
Oh, Naples is crazy. It's a jungle. I'm sorry.
horrendous. They don't stop for you walking. It's not even a concept. But when you get out of there into the the Amalfi Coast and stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I thought about a question now, like favorite food, really quick, like from Italy. What did you like the most? Favorite food, like from Italy. What was your favorite?
My favorite food, and my wife hates it, is pizza.
Okay.
And every time we order DoorDash or something, she'll go, not pizza. Anything you want, but not pizza. I go, babe, can we have pizza? I love pizza. As I'm getting older, it's actually getting real. I was just looking at, yesterday, I was in bed looking at intermittent fasting, and I convinced myself I was going to intermittent fast starting today. And I got up, and I went to breakfast and had breakfast. And that was the end of that. But, because I like beer and I like carbs, and actually I do have. So you took pictures, and I looked at some of me on stage, and my wife said it. She came on the cruise ship a couple of weeks ago. She's like, "Babe, great show, but you do have a little bit of a belly now," and I do. I have a little bit there. It's rolling over my jeans, and that's because I'm working less. I don't have to work as hard, and this is why you see celebrities when they make it, they all put pounds on. It just happens.
Maybe we can get you more gigs like this, and then you don't have to worry about it.
Then I don't have to worry about it.
People can see this video, and then they'll bring you to their
Pizza,
camp.
beer. I would love more gigs like this just because I have enjoyed yesterday and today so much. I was so worried about this because I perform. I don't do talks. I spent ages planning this and I didn't know, and I was so worried. I spent months thinking, oh my God, how am I going to do this? What am I going to say? And then that all disappeared last night a little bit. But then when I was doing the class lectures today, it disappeared because I said I might be 10 minutes and we did an hour with 2 class lectures. I was like, wow, this is cool. And all that went away. And you guys have been so nice and so friendly. And this campus is it feels like a home. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I'm ignoring you and talking to Mike.
Oh, that's perfect. Thank you for.
Oh, you're welcome.
I'm done. No, I'm done. Like I'm finished the question. So thank you.
Thank you for asking.
I'm done. Like.
Thank you for asking 3 questions.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
But, and I'll answer questions about anything, not just about magic or escapes or it can be about anything in life in general. One thing I've learned as I've gone through life is I've learned from the School of Hard Knocks. I didn't go to university. I went to school. I did well at school, but I wanted to be a magician. So when I left at 18, that's all I wanted to do. There wasn't a doubt in my mind that I could do it. I didn't know how long it was going to take, but that's what I wanted to do. So, back then you put an ad in the Yellow Pages and you start getting gigs. The phone rang. That was how it worked. You didn't have to worry about the world. You had to worry about your village. You had to be the best in your village. Not now. It's hard for you guys. You got to be the social media and you got to be the best in it. And people are doing. You go on Fiverr to book a web designer for like $50. It's how do you compete with that? One thing I learned. Somebody said to me a long time ago is don't compete. Just be you. You don't want to get hired for a magic. I don't want to get hired for a magic show in Vancouver. I have no interest because I want to get hired because somebody wants Matt Johnson, not because they want a magician. I want somebody to want Matt Johnson because the second somebody wants Matt Johnson, you have some leverage. And doing shows like those shows, I do them every once in a while because it keeps me current, but also it gives me street cred. I can put my prices up a bit, and I might sell tickets in theaters because people know who I am. The theater just wants to make its money back. So I don't want people to hire. I don't want to be called, hey, we're looking for a magician for a corporate event. I'm not your guy because then they'll call the other magicians and whoever's the cheapest will get the gig. I did that for 10 years, 15, 20, 30 years. I did well. I made a 6-figure income in Canada as a birthday party wedding magician a year. I made a great income. But I don't want to compete. I don't want to. Before I did Britain's Got Talent, people would call me and go, hey, how much do you charge? And I would eventually just go, listen, I got good news and I got bad news. I'm going to be the most expensive magician you call today. Oh, why is that? And I would go, I had this whole lingo down. And I go, well, it's like this. It's like the difference between a Ford and a Ferrari. They'll both get you there, but one's a nicer experience. And if somebody called me for a birthday party for Billy, who's 5, how much do you charge? I go, this. And they go, ooh, that's expensive compared to the other guys. And I go, well, I understand if you want to cheap out on Billy's 5th birthday party. I totally get it. You've got priorities. I get it. And they go, well, no, I don't want to cheap out. Well, no, I understand. Well, why are you this? Well, because I'm the best. It sounds so egotistical, but in my market, I had to be the one guy that was different because everybody was going, oh, well, how much you got? Oh, I got $50. Well, wait, what's the other guy? 35. Well, I can do it for 35. I can, you're begging for the gig. I didn't want to do that. I don't want to do it anymore. It's not that I'm the best in the world. I'm not. It's not that. It's just I've got a family and I've got time and I want to maximize my time. I don't want to do it anymore. So now I just wait for people to call me that want me. And I'm fortunate because I have a regular gig on the ships and they pay me very well to be there. So, yeah.
That's great. Other questions?
Oh, we got 2 more now. You see what you did?
I told you once somebody asks one, then we're going.
There's 2 things that could make...
Carla, can we have you ask the question into the microphone because we're recording it, so it won't pick it up if you.
You are in trouble now.
You speak very fondly of your youth and your growing up in the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
What was the trigger and how did you relocate in Vancouver?
What are the two things that will make somebody move thousands of miles across the world? Money or love, right? And so it was love. So what happened was I was in England. I did a ferry called North Sea Ferries from England to Europe. It was an overnight crossing. It was like a mini cruise ship. I did that. I was about 21 to about 22. And then while I was on there, I heard about this position in Japan for a magician for the Hilton Hotel. I was 22. I applied. I sent a video. I got the job. So I flew to Japan, and I met a Canadian girl who was the costume designer for the show in Japan. And I ripped up my ticket to England, and I bought one to Canada, and I moved there in 1998. And I've been there ever since, 27 years. I got married, I got divorced, I got married again, got divorced again. And now I'm with my third wife, who's my best friend. We met when I was 40. We've been together 11 years. And yeah, that's why I moved there. And that was it, really. That's the short answer. That's the shortest answer I've given, isn't it? Yeah, that's why. Yeah.
If you could sit down with your 20-year-old self and have a conversation, besides your statement, never give up, what would you say?
Oh, I would say a couple of things. I would say lock yourself underwater. Because I was a lot healthier, a lot fitter. It was the thing. And I would say, you know what I would say? I would say, whoever you are inside, whoever you want to be, don't worry about what everybody else thinks. Because who you're looking at now is who I always wanted to be. I was bullied at school relentlessly. I was beaten up at school relentlessly. The thing that was my superpower was magic. Bullies would leave me alone. They'd say, show us a trick, we won't beat you up. So I'd show them a trick. I realized very quickly it was my superpower, but I was shy. I would always look down. I wasn't confident. I have terrible anxiety. I take medication for that, even today. But if I'd have been myself and I didn't care what anybody else thought, I'd have got to this a lot faster. Because when I got tattoos and a beard, I didn't do tattoos for ages because I always thought, well, Billy's mom will open the door for his birthday party and go, no, you're not coming in our house. You know what I mean? Or my corporate clients would go, no, it's a Fortune 500 event, black tie, you've got hand. Because we're talking 30 years ago when this it wasn't like it is now. But if I'd have done it, if I'd have been myself, I would have been different to everybody else. The problem is, we all, when we're starting out, we don't want to turn away the work, right? So you don't want to do anything that might not get you the gigs, or might not get you the job, or might not get you the interview for the job, wherever it is. You know, oh, they're not going to like tattoos, they're not going to hire me at this accountancy firm. The bottom line is it's make or break. But if you are who you are, and I think the world's a lot better embracing individuality now than it was 30, 40 years ago. But if you are who you are, you've got no choice but to make it, and whatever profession you're in. So that's the one thing I tell myself. Don't try and be like everybody else and do what everybody else is doing, because you're never going to. It's a very big pond. You've got to be a big fish in a small pond. And the second you do that and you're individual and you are who you are, you're going to stand out. And that's what's important. People have got to remember you from a mile away. They've got to be able to describe who you are and what you do in one sentence. And they've got to recognize you almost like a caricature of yourself in my business, in the entertainment business, from a mile away. So whatever you can do in life, just go for what your dreams are and stand out. That's the secret to life. And believe in yourself that you can do it with unwavering passion, and you can. That's the only difference between me and you. There's no difference. I just didn't do it till late, till I was 45. So I think, yeah, that's what I tell myself. Oh, we're going till 12 o'clock tonight, mate. Right.
You said that you wanted to be known by your name instead of like being known like as a magician. When was that moment that like it clicked for you that like you're being known by your name instead of just, hey, I need a magician?
When I started doing those shows. because I'd suddenly changed. It wasn't overnight. I did start getting tattooed when I was doing kids' parties, and I would hide my hand, you know. But the change was happening. It was happening, but I could still make a living. So it was happening. But then it's when I started doing that show, when I started doing the shows, I actually used to call myself Matthew Johnson. Johnson is not my last name. Did you know that?
I knew that
How did you know that?
because we're paying you.
It's on my check. I do it for government reasons. It keeps it, you know. No. That's hilarious. It's actually on my Amex card, Matt Johnson. But no, Johnson's not my last name. When I was about 15 years old, I was sat at home with my mom in England. I'll never forget it. And I was reading the newspaper, and I said to my mom, I had a terrible nasal problem with my adenoids, and they were talking about removing them, and because I couldn't say certain words, it was like I couldn't breathe through my nose. I still can't. And my last name is difficult to say for me. So I said to my mom, I said, Mom, if I'm going to be famous, I need a stage name. You know, like David Copperfield, Lance Burton, you know, and my middle name is John. So my mom said, what about using John, son? Right? So I went, Johnson, that's cool. So at 15, I called myself Matthew Johnson. And then it wasn't until I was about 44, I was with a bunch of magicians, and this one guy said to me, he said, you know, somebody I respect in the business, he said, you know, you've got to shorten Matthew to Matt because it just sounds cooler. So I shortened it to Matt Johnson. And then I started going on those shows as Matt Johnson. And the funny thing is, when I'm on ships now, it's so weird because everybody, the crew, the other entertainers and everybody, they don't call me Matt. Everybody calls me Matt Johnson. And I'm like, why are you calling me by my last name too? It's so weird.
I've been Mike Davis my whole life.
Do people call you Mike
Yeah,
Davis?
family member. But there's a lot of Michaels in my family, so I'm Mike Davis. Mike Davis.
Even your parents?
Less so here, but yeah, the rest of my
Mike Davis.
Mike Davis.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. And so, yeah, people call me Matt Johnson. Everywhere I go, hey, Matt Johnson. I'm like, dude, I've known you for 30 years. We're best friends. Why are you calling me Matt Johnson? So, but that's why. I got on TV, and then it was Matt Johnson. But I planned it from 15 years old. Because to me, I couldn't be a superstar unless I had a stage name. So my name's not Johnson. Your job now, should you accept it, is to figure out what my last name is. You may or may not find it on social. I keep it pretty secret, so I don't know if you'll find it. But it is on my passport.
Yeah, Cheryl told me. So Cheryl ratted you out.
Is Cheryl the one writing my check?
Yeah.
Now, interestingly enough, I do have a company. I have a company name, which is Magic, but it's I don't use it much because it's from it's Magic Show 2 Go with a 2. Magic Show 2 Go. But it was more for like, you know, weddings and all that. It's not really the image I want now. And I can't be bothered to change it with the tax people. So yeah. So there you go.
Any other questions?
Wow, good question. Brought everything to an end. Way to go. That was great. Now everybody's like, is he really running from the government? Does he owe like tax?
You're pretty public if you're running from the government.
I know I don't owe tax. I actually now, interestingly enough, you can't work in the US. I'm sure you know this. You can't work in the US from another country. And being a magician, you carry props, right? So when you cross the border, if you've got props and you aren't able to, you don't have the right credentials, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. I've had a lot of magician friends in Canada that try to cross the border with like doves and like, I'm like, guys, why are you even trying? They will grill you. So I have what's called an O1 visa, which I'm very proud to say is for artists of extraordinary talent. And so people like Elton John have one. And so you don't just get given it. You have to prove that you are an artist of extraordinary talent, that is the only person that can do what you do. And you do that by showing press, TV, radio, all this stuff. And I have a lot of it. So I'm on my third now. The first one was got for me by the Late Late Show. They got me one. It lasted a couple of weeks. The second one, I had a manager in Hollywood. Do you guys remember Richard Simmons with the big afro, the workout guy? So his manager for his whole career ended up being my manager for about a year and a half, just before COVID. And so he was my manager. He got me my second one for 2 years. And then the one I have now, I got for 3 years. You can get it for a maximum of 3 years. It costs about $5,000. And you have to have gigs. That's the downside. You have to show that you have gigs.
You're welcome.
And, well, this, I'd already got it. This was, you're not taking that one, Mike. But this, but funnily enough, you have to have gigs. So, and what they do is, if you've only got a gig, if you get it in 2024 and you've only got a gig till 2025, they'll only give it you for a year, but it's still $5,000. You have to have gigs as far as you want your contract to go, to a maximum of 3 years. So I have a 3-year visa which ends in 2026 right now, and then I'll apply for another one. Fortunately, my agent who books me on ships also books me on land, so I have gigs. But it's, you pay to play, you know.
All right, I'll ask the last question, and then we can have a reception. I'm sure people have other questions for you up there. So you've given your first college lecture.
Wow.
You're giving your first inspirational talk. You mentioned during your talk your bucket list.
Yeah.
What's left on your bucket list? What's
There is some things left on my bucket list. I wrote a bucket list before Britain's Got Talent, and some of the things that were on there were be on Britain's Got Talent, be on America's Got Talent, be in The Illusionists on tour. That was a big one. To be taken seriously as a magician, perform on Broadway, get on cruise ships. I've done them all. The only 2 things on my bucket list that I haven't done are, one is to have my own show in Vegas, which is not as important to me anymore because I now am a resident on a cruise ship where I have, the theater is a multi-million, and it's all dialed in for my show. So everything, even some of the things I did here, look completely different there because we have lifts and there's cones of light, and it just changes the, you know, it's like if you got, and again, the tech team here is amazing, and you don't have those things when you're not in a multi-million-dollar theater. So if you brought a Broadway show and put it on this stage right now with these lights, it wouldn't be the same show. You would go, yeah, they're pretty good singers, but it's all about the smoke and mirrors. And so, so to have my own show in Vegas, but now I have a residency on a ship and my stuff's there. So that's kind of the same. Plus Vegas is not the same as it used to be. Nobody in Vegas now is hired by the hotel. Everybody in Vegas, including Penn and Teller, is four-walling, which means they rent the theater, they pay for advertising to get people in. The reason Penn and Teller do a show called Foolers is to stay current so they can sell tickets to their theater show. That's why. It's nothing to do with that. It's just that. Nobody, Chris Angel rents his own theater, they all do. So that's kind of gone. The other one is to have my own TV show. That's nearly happened a couple of times. I filmed the sizzle reel about 2 years ago, which is what you present to networks. And we got interest with it. And then the director that filmed the sizzle reel, he flew out and we filmed the sizzle reel over 3 days. And the director that filmed it and was pushing it, unfortunately, had a heart attack. And I've not spoken to him since. So that kind of went. I had an opportunity to do a show in Vegas. That kind of fell through. To be fair, I don't know. The TV shows were always going to be about extreme stunts. And I had an idea for a TV show. Have you seen the one with David Blaine now? The History Channel thing where he's going around doing, like, he's putting his face in crocodiles and stuff. So it was basically that. But before it came out, I was going to do a similar thing. So if somebody had escaped from a roller coaster, I was going to go get changed to the highest roller coaster in the world. Or if somebody had escaped from sharks, I was going to go to the world's deadliest shark-infested water and escape. I didn't want to do it. I was terrified, but I just thought, but it got interest. So I thought I'll figure the rest out. I'll figure it out. I'm sure they won't let me die. So, and we did a thing and we chained me. We didn't get any permission. They flew out to Canada and we've got a big train track near us out in the boonies. And we knew when the train was coming. So they chained me to the train track and the train's coming. And the idea was I'd escape and then I'd jump off before we got in trouble. We'd hop in the car and run. And they had drones and all that. Anyway, it looked pretty cool. Yeah, it got a lot of interest, but it never happened. And to be honest, now I'm kind of glad it didn't because now I wouldn't want to do it. I think I want to be seen as a magician now. Or telling my stories, doing a few escapes, but I don't want to kill myself. I have no interest anymore in doing stuff that endangers my life because I have a good life, you know? And so it's not on my bucket list anymore. I make a good living, and just enough that I can have a good life. And so that's ultimately what it's about. It's not about being famous. You know, TV's not what it used to be either. TV used to be, if you got noticed, you got on TV and you were a celebrity for 6 years or 8 years or whatever. Now everybody's on TV. And they don't pay for it. None of these reality shows pay because everybody wants the fame, right? So I think I'm doing it, Mike. I think I don't have a bucket list anymore.
Well, that was awesome. Well, thanks for being here. I think we all learned a lot from you.
I sincerely hope I didn't bore you too much, and you're inspired even a little bit, and you had a good time. And I just want to say thank you to you and to the faculty and to the tech team and everybody for being so gracious and nice and looking after me. And in this first one, I'm out of my comfort zone, but we did it. And tomorrow I have a day off, and then Saturday I fly to Miami and get back on a ship.
He's going to an elimination dinner with us tomorrow night. So it'll be his real West Virginia. That'll be the most West Virginia thing you do.
Is that a West Virginia thing?
I had never heard of it before I came here.
I thought it was like Squid Games. I thought we were all going to get. I did. When he said elimination dinner, I was like, I don't want to go to that.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding?
It's a lot of fun. So if you had a good time tonight, we'll have a presidential speaker series next year as well. We've got the first one is scheduled. It'll be date's not scheduled yet, but it'll be sometime in September. It'll be somebody's going to come talk to us about the future of democracy, which is a different type of saving democracy is a different type of magic. So
Right.
That's where we'll start off. So
Kind of difficult, like Escapes, really, isn't it?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Can I ask one thing before you all go? Honestly, if you haven't yet, follow me on social media, and it means more to me than you know. If you enjoyed it, or if it changed your thinking at all, or you were inspired by it in any way whatsoever, send me a message through Instagram on private messenger. I post those on my socials, and it helps me with other things. But also, it really empowers me because I'm my own worst critic. If people have enjoyed it, it really helps me to hear it, and I read it, and it just keeps me going.
And you respond to everything. I mean,
Everything.
and that's
Every
all
message.
you, right? You don't have anybody doing that for you. That's
No, but
all
that
you.
tells you how many followers I have. Not many. I only need 10 more followers to get to 1,000. No, I do have more than that, but no, I do. I respond.
Because I don't think I've ever written anything on any of your posts that you haven't responded to.
No, I do.
Yeah.
Because I'm on it all the time, but I don't live by it. It's just I travel a lot, and I have a lot of time on airplanes, and I have time to do it. So I hope one day, it's my bucket list. I hope to get famous enough that I don't have to do my own social media, like you, Mike.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's give Matt a big round
Thank
of
you,
applause.
everybody.